Hi, so I've received an interesting question, and thank you for the encouragement. That's very cool of you. Very much appreciate that. So, for context, most of my previous examples and videos have been referring to just a single collision per object, so whether it's a static mesh or character meshes in this case. We can see that each skeletal mesh just has one splash per mesh. So like the whale here, for example, it doesn't have like a separate bit for the tail. It's just got one kind of in the middle of the body. If we have a look at the setup for the humanoids, it's just got this one collision setup this one overlap setup to spawn a single splash. There's no setup for like additional details or small splashes for the hand and the feet, etc. With this particular example, it seems to be referring to the Kraken, which is a very cool marketplace asset, and the collisions on its tentacles. So if I come and have a look at the Kraken, if we switch on collisions, so it's got a bunch of collisions on the tentacles, and I'm afraid at this point in time, I'm not sure how to get my tool to read all of those like collisions and then spawn accordingly. If you're not familiar with physics assets and physics bodies, and this is the physics asset which came with the Kraken, and these are all the physics bodies included, which is a lot. Furthermore, you wouldn't necessarily want that many splashes to be spawned. Ideally, for these kind of like elongated type shapes, and you'd want something different. But we won't go into that at the moment. We'll just go into what can we do with what we've got with the splash pack. And let's have a look. So what I've done here is just made a blueprint, and I put the Kraken in there. Oh, and yeah, I've simulated physics to get some movement, but that movement did initially have the Kraken like flying off. So what I did is I just modified the physics asset where I selected all of the physics bodies and I disabled the intercollision. That seemed to fix it. And then I've gone in and I've started just adding my own like custom colliders, custom spawners, custom overlappers, and that's all the same thing. I'm just saying that these spheres are what the tool is going to read and then spawn splashes from those overlaps. And one thing I found is it was doing this like this particular sphere was doing this weird floating thing. And what I ended up doing was I came in here and I grabbed this particular constraint and I just locked the angular limits, and that seemed to fix it. So so I've got this simulating physics, and I've got collisions kind of set up accordingly, but then these colliders, they're set up accordingly too. We could actually just set these to overlap, I guess. Yeah, and you need to make sure it's generating overlap events, and in this case it needs to be on query only. So this is what I've been testing, and I guess the question kind of comes down to, is it feasible for 8 or more? And this is referring to the foot splash tutorial. I would instead recommend this character splash tutorial, and if I can remember, what I've done is I've attached colliders directly in the outliner. So I'm basically doing the same thing in this example, but I'm just attaching within a blueprint, and I'm doing multiple colliders instead of just the one. So just to get an idea of the time and effort within this type of setup, let me just remove most of these. So we'll just start here. We're adding one sphere. It's zeroed out. Alright, so let's just move it over here, move it up to this main area here, adjust the size. Okay, that's good. Now let's make another sphere. So we can kind of cover this area over here. It's quite wide. I might just bring this in. Okay, bring this in a little bit there. Okay, now I'm just going to make another sphere here, and I'll start working on the legs. And this could be much smaller. And now I don't. Okay, let's just have a look at these bodies here, and just let's make sure that they're following along correctly. That should be fine. But when I'm starting on the legs here, that's where we're starting to get some movement. So let's just keep this zeroed out. And I want to, at the end of the leg, I'll skip all the other parts of the leg. 2, let's do like 1.5, okay, something like that. And the next leg at the end, and the next leg again at the end, and I'm probably going to start losing track at some point. I won't try and do the whole thing. I'll just do enough to start getting the idea. I'll start there, and another one. Okay, that's the legs done. Okay, now let's look at the tentacles, and obviously these are long and thin shapes, and we're not going to get like quote unquote like correct splash interaction. I will compromise. It will be quite an extreme compromise, and what I'll do is just try and cover the basic area. So let's start by looking here, and what we'll do is we'll start in the middle with one of these tentacles, for example, and put it to size 1. So we've got, like, we'll have this general area kind of covered by this sphere, and then we'll have the middle area kind of covered by this sphere, and then why is it not copying the name? And then we'll have the tip here, so that's, you know, covering that area. So we've roughly got the whole kind of body covered in general. Yeah, it's a major compromise. So onto the next tentacle. So second tentacle somewhere in the middle. And my microphone is blocking my list over there. Okay. And third, middle. Oops. This is the third one. Wasn't tracking. Let's go from the other side. So this one middle. And on the end. How's that covering the? I'll just do one more in the middle somewhere. So this one, this one. Alright, I'm going to try and do the whole thing, just try to get the general idea. Yeah, let's just try that. And now, how do we have this set up? We've got this one. Okay, start in slow-mo. And let's see how that looks. You can see we don't have those like inter collisions, but that's more about managing the asset rather than the focus on the splashback, and I don't think that looks too bad. probably depend on the particular movements and everything like that. But so try without the slow-mo. Yeah, okay, there we go. I should say I did previously also adjust some drop sizes. So I just had a look at the drop scale of the main and the add vel by height setting parameters of the main splash material and of the white water splash material. So if your droplets are looking too big, you can have a look there. And I hopefully have covered this topic reasonably. I understand it's quite can be a bit tricky. Yeah, so I guess it's up to your particular case whether this is something suitable or whether you maybe need a different solution. Or, but I hope that information helps. I hope it helps to know what the possibilities are. Okay, great. Thank you.